Shalin Shah has over 20 years working in the pharmaceutical, biotech, and health insurance industries. He started his career working for a major health insurance company in their risk management group. Afterwards, he became a management consultant working for different companies like Deloitte and Bluefin Group, advising pharmaceutical and biotech companies of all sizes, large and small, and emerging in the areas of product commercialization. Most recently, Shalin has been working in-house at small biotech companies developing novel treatments in oncology and helping them build their commercial capabilities from the ground up. He's also an avid investor with a diverse portfolio of investments in startup companies and real estate, and the lead investor of MedCoShare's WeFunder crowdfunding campaign. Shalin, welcome to the show. We're family, so I'm glad you're here, and you're also a new father. So tell us a little bit about that and your background.
Yeah, happy to be here, and thanks. Obviously, thanks for having me today. And yeah, as you mentioned, obviously, me and Rona go way back, being first cousins, and a lot of stories that we could share, but we probably won't for purposes of
That's
today.
Another podcast.
Probably won't for purposes of today, but and definitely a new dad, and very much enjoying that. It's really been life changing in all aspects. So.
How's the lack of sleep?
Yeah, that comes with it. You have your ups and downs, but have a great support system and wife at home. So we're doing a pretty good job, I think, and just thankful for it all. So yeah,
no, it's been great. You guys are doing a great job.
Yeah. So a little bit about my background. I went to school in Philadelphia, Drexel University. Upon graduating, I went right into management consulting, and so I worked for. I started out working for a company called IMS Health in one of their consulting practices. It was there where I really got my foundation in the pharmaceutical industry and learned how things worked. And really, that was like my launching pad, because from there, ended up getting into some really good roles at two other firms, and really went from being operational to strategic, and so spent the next 5 years at Deloitte in a small company called Bluefin Group, where really did a lot of great work for manufacturers of all sizes, large, small, mid-tier, emerging, you name it. Brought dozens of products and services to market. From there, I ended up getting into the biotech industry, and I worked in 2018. I went to my first biotech company, which was working on a drug in breast cancer, in a type of breast cancer that had no innovation for decades. Was able to, from the ground up, help build the organization, launch the product successfully, and ultimately was acquired by a larger pharmaceutical company. Spent some time there, and then now I'm at another really small biotech company, also in the cancer space, and have helped sort of build that company as well, from the ground up, develop its commercial capabilities, and kind of continuing bringing products to market. So yeah, it's been a great ride.
No, that's amazing. And I know with your previous company, you had a little bit of an exit there that gave you some capital to invest. So can you talk a little bit about some of the companies you've invested in? Obviously, you were the lead investor for us in our crowdfunding campaign, and maybe you can talk about why you also decided to invest into MedCoShare.
Yeah, so definitely got into the world of investing. I've always loved the idea of investing, from stock markets, et cetera, at a very young age. And then, growing through your career, you start to learn about all the opportunities that are out there and what you're able to get involved with. And I've been fortunate to kind of have had a fair amount of things come across my desk, so to speak, and have taken advantage of them. So, I'm involved in a handful of different real estate deals, both residential and commercial. involved with some technology companies in the AI space, and then obviously also involved with MedCoShare and a few other things. So, yeah.
So what's the difference between investing in real estate and investing in healthcare?
Yeah, so I mean, I think, two very different, while there are some similarities, I think they're very different. For traditional real estate, real estate has been tried and true sort of investment for decades and decades, and has worked out for a lot of people. I think if you make the right moves in real estate, at least on the residential side, and even sometimes on the commercial side, the risk is not as high as it is with investing in early stage companies or things like that.
Yeah, I think, with real estate, it's definitely more predictable. And because of that, there's a proven pathway to wealth. And usually it's slower, but at least there is that path that people can follow. And with healthcare, and you've seen it, some companies go bust rather quickly. Others take 15, 20 years to really gain momentum. And that's just the way things are. Sometimes you're not necessarily trying to hit a jackpot, but you just really don't know what avenue you're going to be going down in terms of healthcare investments. So going back to MedCoShare and why you invested, what excites you the most about MedCoShare and the current healthcare environment?
Right. So I think with MedCoShare, I think it is a very unique concept because the cost of doing business as a individual provider or a group as an individual provider is very high. On top of everything that you have to worry about with delivering patient care, the administrative side of things, you also have to worry about the real estate side of things, right? And so I think what sort of attracted me to this is that MedCoShare kind of solves a big piece of that and really lets providers focus on what they do best, which is taking care of patients and things like that, and not having to worry about leases and long-term arrangements or having to buy a building per se, right? And so I think with such a large population and such big opportunity with all the healthcare and all of the things that happen in this country, I think the opportunity, even though hospitals are a major player in this and control a large part of the market, there's still such a big market to be captured for individual providers.
So last night you shared an article from the AMA about why it's becoming harder and harder for practices to get started, and why there are more and more people gravitating towards just becoming a physician at a hospital or a large clinic. Do you see that trend continuing? And one of the reasons why we started MedCoShare is also because we saw that trend and we figured there has to be another outlet, right? There shouldn't be only either you work for a hospital or you invest, $500,000, $1 million to go out on your own. But where do you see that trend going?
Yep. And so I think for a long time there was sort of a upward trend of hospitals acquiring any type of practice they could get their hands on, and maybe to a certain extent that still exists today. At the same time, I feel like there's enough people and providers that are out there that still want to kind of remain on their own, be entrepreneurs and do their own thing without being tied, to a hospital per se and just, being another hospital employee. I think there's, even if it's 40% of the population, that is still a very big number when you think about a TAM that is over $1 trillion in terms of, real estate, et cetera, in the healthcare space. So I think the opportunity is there. I think especially with, this next generation of physicians coming in, I think, it's a little bit of a different mindset. So I think that there's tremendous growth ahead.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. what advice would you give to budding entrepreneurs and investors?
I would say a few things. One is people. People are the most important thing to any endeavor, essentially, right? And so one of the things I always look at behind any business or opportunity is the people that are involved. And if you have strong people that are passionate, I think the likelihood of success goes all that much more up. And so people are very important. So I would say, as an entrepreneur, definitely surround yourself with great people. I think that really appeals to investors. The second thing I would say to an entrepreneur, obviously, is, there's no substitute for hard work. No endeavor is easy. No one becomes successful overnight. And so hard work is that is at the core, and everyone and their team should really understand that. Days, nights, weekends, it never stops. For entrepreneurs, it really never stops, right? And so that piece is very important. Then on the third side, I would say, and this is natural to entrepreneurship, but, taking risk is inherent in the business, right, of being an entrepreneur. And I think there's going to be times where you have to take risks that are significant. And I would say, the people that have been really successful are the ones that do take those risks. And so I think you have to have that appetite to be able to take risks. So those are some of the things I would probably say. Like I said, your team, very important, hard work, and being able to take risks.
Yeah, and I would add one more to that, which is timing. There's a lot of businesses that have those elements, but if the timing is off, it becomes a failure. And then vice versa, there's businesses that launch at the right time, where you might have, 2 out of those 3 things that you mentioned, and it still does phenomenally well because the market has to be ready for whatever product or service that you're launching. The other thing too is with healthcare, and my background is commercial real estate. With healthcare, it's just a different animal. So it's there's a big difference between launching a tech company versus launching a healthcare company. And here, because things move at just a slower pace, our time horizon when we started MedCoShare was over 10 years, because we know that adoption in healthcare isn't going to happen overnight. We're going into year 4, and we've set the foundation of being able to scale it to other markets. So I'm excited about that. And as a team, we're aligned that it's not going to happen just overnight. We do see that it's going to take time, and we're prepared to be in that marathon. Shalin, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming. It was really great having you here.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and best of luck to you guys on the journey ahead.